Hello, so today I'm going to be talking to you about the grounds for an election petition. Now, you know that when elections are held, if a candidate in the election or a political party that participated in the election wishes to challenge the outcome or the process of the conduct of the election, then they file a petition in the relevant court. Now, there were only three grounds provided under the Electoral Act on which petitions can be brought. Now, the first ground is that a person at the time of the election was not qualified to contest. The second ground is that the election was invalid by reason of corrupt practices or non-compliance with the Electoral Act. And the third ground is that the respondent was not duly elected by the majority of lawful votes cast at the election. Of course, the respondent in this petition would be the candidate who was declared winner by the electoral body, that's INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission. Now, let's just speak briefly about the different grounds. Now, the first ground that says the person who was declared the winner was not qualified to contest. Now, when a petition is brought on that ground, then the petitioner has to show how that person does not meet the qualification. Now, you know that constitutionally there are qualifications required for persons to be elected to the office of president, vice president, governors, deputy governors, senators, members of the House of Representatives, and the other political offices across the country. So if a person at the time of the election did not meet that qualification, then their election can be challenged. Now you can see on the screen, for instance, some of the constitutional grounds for disqualification of a person who is vying to be president in Nigeria or governor of a state. For instance, the candidate has to be a citizen of Nigeria by birth, all right? A citizen by birth of Nigeria. A candidate, for instance, is not supposed to be an undischarged bankrupt or a person of unsound mind or someone who within a period of 10 years prior to the election has been convicted and sentenced of an offense involving dishonesty or has been found guilty of contravention of the code of conduct. Now, the second ground on which the petition is brought is that the election was invalid by reason of corrupt practices or non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. So if the Electoral Act stipulate a method for how the elections should be conducted and it's not followed, then you see that the result of that election can be challenged. Also, when we talk about corrupt practices, now this is talking about rigging, snatching of ballot boxes and stuffing of ballot boxes and all those other kind of practices that would mar an election. But one thing here is that when there is this allegation of corrupt practices, the standard of proof that would be required is the criminal standard, which is proof beyond reasonable doubt. So it's a much higher standard of proof that is required than proof on a balance of probabilities, which is the usual standard of proof required in civil matters. And now the third ground on which the petition can be brought is that the respondent was not duly elected by the majority of lawful votes cast at the election. Now, when you have a petition brought on this ground, then the premise, the allegation being raised by the petitioner is that if only lawful votes are counted in that election, then the person who was declared the winner of the election by INEC would lose. Okay, so you see that when a petition is brought on this ground, the petitioner can ask the court, based on this, they should be declared the winner of the election if they had the highest number of lawful votes cast at the election. So those are the only three grounds provided under the Electoral Act on which election petitions can be brought, and any other ground on which a petition is brought would be considered incompetent by the court and would be struck out. So I hope you've learned something new today. I'll see you some other time. Bye-bye.